What's up again, everybody? Long time no talk. I spent the better part of last week really diving deep into the Silver Age format with the unbannings that happened last week in the BNR. And today was supposed to be about this girl right here, Kasai, because she got a major glow up in this Silver Age format. But we can't talk about a new lion in the Silver Age format when instead we need to talk about a horse and his boy, because it may not be updated here, but Victor Goldmane, high and mighty, has officially reached the living legend status. How do we know? Well, over the course of this Nationals season, the points have also, besides LSS, been accumulated by some fine folks over on Reddit. And this is the results of all of the Nationals data being put onto a spreadsheet and calculated out. And it does appear that after all is said and done, Victor Goldmane with his 1.5x multiplier is going to gobble up enough points to cross the finish line. Now, I can maybe slide the screen over. Maybe I should slide it over slightly more. There you go. You see, Victor indeed gets 1,026 points if all results are finalized and indeed confirmed. But many of the results that he did pick up, you can actually watch on streams, because there were so many streams this past weekend. Victor indeed has finally ridden off into the sunset, or maybe he's the horse. We never really know, I guess. Either way, Victor Goldmane no longer in the format, which means a ton, because Victor was one of those heroes that you had to plan for and understand your matchup into, because he was so prevalent in the metagame. It was towards this last little stretch, it was him and the old school Oscilio, powered up by the new cards that really gobbled up 9 to 10% of the overall meta share on any given tournament, so you had to be ready for him. But now that he's rotating, along with the rotation of Remembrance, this meta is going to change completely. So Victor, we salute you. We'll see you in the next iteration, the next time you come around. And it's looking very much like Kasai will be joining you relatively soon. Now, she did not, if we look back at this chart, she did not get any more points than that first week of wins, I believe. And looking at the follow-up over here on the Battlegrounds, I think she only picked up the one Battlegrounds, and this number 892 is indeed where she sits currently. So she is not going to really be in danger of rotating unless she loses, I should say wins. I'm thinking of it all as a loss when it comes to Kasai. If I lose Kasai, I'm going to be very sad. But if she wins Pro Tour, or if she ends up winning the calling there, she would gobble up a good chunk of points, because the calling is 50. She would need, at least a Pro Tour win though, or, the calling plus a couple of random events as well for her to go. But there's other heroes as well that are making a nice little surge on this Living Legend leaderboard. Dash has done quite well for herself over the past couple of weeks. Syndra has also put up a fair showing of results with a good number of top 8s. The hero to keep your eye on, though, is how Oscilio is going to continue to improve. Because if we look at Oscilio's overall, representation, he's really climbed over the past weeks. We can actually see this over on Fablazing's data. If we go back to the meta, this is the past, let's go paper results, the past 30 days of paper results. You can see the sort of the meta breakdown based on the numbers of, heroes that have been played. You can see Victor, of course, representing about 10% of the meta. Arachne was 8.9, and then Oscilio 8.7. This was sort of at the beginning of national season, right as US Nats was about to kick off. But if we shift that timeline to 14 days, you can see he pops past both of them, and Oscilio becomes the deck ever so slightly, with just a 0.1 percentage point over Victor, the deck that is ruling the roost in meta percentage when that's concerned. And then you pop it up to the past 7 days, and this takes into account this past weekend more. He does fall down a little bit in comparison to both Victor and Arachne, but keep in mind, this is the final hurrah. Everyone really kind of knew the writing was on the wall. Victor needed a couple of wins, and he got a couple of wins, and it was because of an increase in meta share in paper at all of these tournaments. But that is a big deal. if we look at Oscilio's overall matchup spread too, this is the other question, because I do believe this to be a hero that everyone needs to look at and be prepared for. The deck, by the way, we will talk about how this deck is changing over these past couple of weeks, but this is really the curious part. He has a solid win rate into a variety of heroes. The real question becomes, what does he struggle into? And well, maybe we see the rise and the uptick in results for Dash.io and Syndra because they are good answers to Oscilio. As you can see, the win rates over, let's change this to paper. There we go. The win rates over the past 30 days in paper Dash.io has a 40% win rate from the Oscilio perspective, and Syndra has a 44% win rate from the Oscilio perspective. So Oscilio is losing to those two decks, and those decks are why we see them rising is because they're going to be facing more Oscilios, and now perhaps more than ever with our guy Victor Goldmane riding off into the sunset. So I am curious to see Dash.io and see Syndra if those representations tick up. And funnily enough, the other thing we haven't talked about yet is Katsu. Katsu has a positive win rate, with Oscilio on the Oscilio side having a 45.5% win rate. So not terrible for Oscilio, but good for Katsu. And Katsu's one of those heroes that actually just won a national championship. In what was one of the craziest turn sequences I feel like I've seen in a while, Katsu ended up picking up the win and getting Living Legend points this past national season. So maybe I'll link down in the description a clip of that, or maybe just the full stream. You just go watch the stream. It was Australian Nationals, and it was right towards the end, obviously being the finals, and that turn was incredible. Either way, it was fantastic to watch, and Katsu may be one of those heroes that could rise in popularity if everyone's trying to answer Oscilio. But that's one side of the coin. The other interesting thing about Oscilio going forward is that a lot of the Oscilio winning deck lists are, starting to reduce. The list itself is starting to sort of come together. Now, these I'm about to show you all first place, nationals winning deck lists. So here's one. This is the Canada National Championship winning deck list, and you can take a look. It's got, the triple Astral Bridge, Cloud Cover, Comet Storm. You can see sort of the denominations of all the cards. I tried to make it all fit onto the screen. Now look at what happens when I go to the German National Championship list, and you'll notice that there's a couple of different things here, like Burn Bear gets added a cheeky even bigger than that, but by and large, a lot of these same pieces, and in some cases, the same denominations, right? You've got 2 Snatch here. We go to Norway's National Championship, a lot of the exact same pieces. So the list itself, this one has the 3 even bigger than that. 2 Calming Breeze to combat against Flicking from Syndra and from Arachne Marionette. But we're seeing a lot of the same stuff from Brazil. You see the same sort of cards denominations. You see the same composition in general. 1 sync below there, the 3 sigils, of course. You've got Burn Bear showing back up in this version of the list, which is the Netherlands National Championship. These are all, again, first place deck lists. So these are all winning lists. And while these first place lists all look very similar, there is another version of this hero that maybe takes a different stance, more pure arcane. And that's the one that people are complaining about, which is the funny part, because there's a lot of people out there that are talking about the possibility of banning a card called Aether Flare. So for example, this is the Estonia second place national championship list, and this card in question is what everyone I hear is complaining about. Because Aether Flare is able to sort of amp across, if you want to even call it that, amp and buff across multiple sources, you can play the style where you play a bunch of Aether Flares and you spill that excess damage that you can build up off of popping Aether Bindings after popping Future Sights at the start of your turn. You can spill that over into instants, right? So you can go Aether Flare into Flash Bolt and pour the damage from one to the other and create these crazy endgame states wherein you like Storm Striders, Aether Flare, Flash Bolt after they're tapped out, or Strike twice, for example, and you can pour this damage over from one source to another and really just kind of push the point from there on. And this is a very cool version of the list. It's the version that I think is a lot of fun. I'll put it that way. Maybe not the most fun, but at the same time, I can see why some people are going to complain about this card. Keep this in mind. Aether Flare is a card that has been banned before in multiple formats. It was banned in Blitz, basically the entirety of Blitz once Kano got good, and it is currently banned in Silver Age. So like, this is a card that could definitely eat a ban going forward if it is deemed necessary. So we'll have to see how that all ends up playing out. But a major shift in how the format is going to be engaged with now that Victor makes its way out. The bans that took place last week are now officially in effect after National season. Pro Tour is looking to be very spicy and new on the horizon. So if you like this type of content, catching you up from the weekend and all the things that have changed, let me know that in a comment below. And of course, make the number go to the other number. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.